Please welcome Michael Chaize.
Thank you. So we will talk about web design. I am a web designer since 1996, working with several techniques. So the idea is just to share with you how I work today in 2014 with Adobe Apps. If you want to join me, this is my nickname on Twitter, mchaize. It's the best way to reach me. Okay, and I would be happy to answer your questions. So a little bit of history first. If you look at Adobe, Macromedia, and web design, everything started in 1998 with Fireworks. Any Fireworks fans or users in the room? No? One. Okay, good. Don't be ashamed. Okay. I used to be a Fireworks fan too. Very popular, especially to prototype web pages, because you could work with layers, smart guides, symbols, 9-slice scaling. I will explain what it is. Optimize your images, export to PDF. So a lot of options to just express what you want to do for your website. But then it has been designed for the old web. What I mean by old web is that we were just slicing images and putting everything in tables, declaring table tag, TD, TR, etc. And it's not the case today. Okay, today everything is based on CSS. So that's why if we look at what is the web today, we are dealing with what we call flat design, which is basically color management, typeface management, basic shapes, responsive web design, also to get mobile-ready experience and optimize the experience for your visitor on mobile devices, tablet, or desktop computers. And one of the challenges is how can I prototype a responsive experience? So I will show you today how you can achieve that. And also the web, in my opinion, is getting more and more technical. Now we have to deal with 300 CSS properties. I remember 10 years ago we were only dealing with maybe 20. So it's challenging, and some formats are coming back, such as Svg. So I will show you today how you can jungle and play using Photoshop, Illustrator, a new tool named Reflow, and some online services such as Typekit to achieve the best workflow when you want to design a website and web pages. So I guess you are web designers. I hope so. Otherwise, you will learn some stuff, but I don't know if you will use what I will show. So this is my menu du jour. Okay, this is what I plan to show you during this presentation. I'm not cheating, okay? This is my cheat sheet, so that's why I should start. I really want to share a lot of tips with you. And starting just by saying that flat design is not a trend. I see it on a lot of blogs, like what are the new design trends or the trends for the web of the future. So flat design is not a trend, okay? It's a necessity in some cases, because it comes from the fact that you have users visiting your website on a mobile device, maybe they're in the street, and there are some contrast issue. So flat design is born from the reading experience, where you just need basic colors, some contrast, and just focus on the information for that visitor who is in the street. So flat design comes from mobile, okay? It doesn't come from the desktop. But now, obviously, for production reasons, we have also flat design websites on the desktop. But that means that we need to focus more and more on colors, on shapes, on fonts, and also I will show you some tips on how you can share your work and get feedback. So let's go. So I will start in Photoshop CC and show you some new stuff regarding color management. First, let me show you a quick tip. Maybe you haven't noticed this one, but when you use the color picker here, okay, if I pick the pink here and then yellow and green, notice here what's happening. Now you have a swatch history. It wasn't the case before. Super useful. Okay, so you just have to pick some pictures, and then you can make sure that you will retrieve exactly the same code. That's simple, okay? Very simple improvement, but you can save a lot of time. Also, if you press Shift, you know that if I press here, I can sample here until 10 colors. And then I can move back here and change the value. Okay, so Just some tips because today for proof reasons, you want to focus maybe on 4 or 5 colors and you have the tools in Photoshop. If you are looking for inspiration, there is an online service that is available for free. Its name is Cooler. Okay, so who is using Cooler in this room? Okay, good quote. So you have the Cooler extension directly within Photoshop. The goal is that you create themes based on 5 colors and you can share it with the community and then you can rate the themes and directly use them in Photoshop. So if you like this one, the vintage Ralph Lauren theme, okay, you can just say, I want to add it to my Swatch panel, and then you will get the colors here. And it works with a website, cooler.adobe.com, where you can create your color themes and share them with the community. You can create public or private color themes. So let's take a compound one, and then just changing the value. You can look for a nice tint, something like, okay, this. You can edit each value and then save it and share it with the community, or you can explore. And if I type Amsterdam, I guess that there are some themes about Amsterdam. Then I can download the swatch and put it in Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and use these colors. So which one is the best in your opinion? It's hard to say, this one maybe. Then you can download it or rate it. I mean, it's super useful. And there is another new feature. I'm sure you're not aware of this one, but in Photoshop it will, it changed the way I'm working now with several designers. So in the past, what you could do, and you still can do it of course, is to say file, I want to place a PSD or Illustrator file, coming from someone else, and then it will embed the file in your PSD. Okay? But now there is a new option, which is place linked. It can be another Photoshop file or Illustrator file. And if you look at this object here, okay, so let me zoom in. Meet us at FITC. If you look at in the layers panel, there is this new link icon, which means that this layer is another file. Okay, so let me open it here. It's an Illustrator file. So now if I open this file in Illustrator, and if I change, for instance, just the color, okay, we move to a vibrant orange, and if I save, okay, I go back to Photoshop, boom, it's already changed. And that's very cool because if you are working with design components or icons in several projects, so imagine this banner is in another PSD file. And this is the case. It's also used in this page. You see it's not updated. You say, oh, Michael, your trick doesn't work. I open the PSD and it's still yellow. Okay, but here I have a warning icon. So I can right-click and say, I want to update modified content or all the modified content. And boom, voila. Now it's orange. Okay. So super workflow if you want to work with several designers, and also if you want to create a library of components, library of Twitter icon because they change their icon every 6 months. Okay. If you want to update all your design pages, just use the linked objects. Super useful. And now I want to talk a little bit about how you can use web fonts directly in Photoshop, which is also something pretty new. So there is a mistake, a big design mistake in this page. Can you see it? I'm using Lobster. I'm using the Lobster font. Okay, big mistake. Never do that. Okay, it's forbidden. It used to be Comic Sans MS. Now it's Lobster. Never use Lobster. So I want to use another font here. If you are a member of the Creative Cloud or if you are a Typekit user, you can now use Typekit fonts, web fonts, directly within the tools. In Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, even PowerPoint. Okay, it would work. So how does it work? You move here and you say, I want to check my fonts on Typekit. And you will see that there is a new filter. You can say, I want to display the font I can use on my website, but also the one I can use on my desktop. And it makes a big difference for your workflow. So I can say, okay, I want a script font, such as, okay, let's take, I don't know, Carry, okay, use font. And then you say, I want to sync the selected font. It will just send a message to your desktop, and automatically it will download the font and install it on your computer. It will become a system font. Okay. So why is it so important? It's because now I can use here Typekit fonts, such as Coquette. Okay, Coquette. And what is cool is that on my website, I will get exactly the same font. So I get a 100% web-safe workflow. Okay? And I remember, working in web agencies, the number of times where my customer would tell me, well, Michael, on the website, it doesn't look as good as in Photoshop, especially for the fonts. It's because of that. And now you can have exactly the same. So let me open a web page here. Okay, so this is HTML, okay? Here. So now if I open it here, okay. Okay, here we go. You have exactly the same, because I'm just using Typekit fonts. And then you will tell me exactly the same, yeah, but it's not perfect. If you look at this font here, Awesome Web, it's using Proxima Nova, a light font. It's very light here, but in Chrome, it's thicker. It's heavy. So do you know why? Chrome? Problem of Chrome. It's with font rendering, yeah. It's the way Chrome and other browsers, okay, not only Chrome, okay, I don't want to blame Chrome, they don't render the font such as Photoshop. It's a completely different algorithm, okay? But now in Photoshop CC, I can select a text layer, and I guess you are familiar with that, anti-aliasing. Okay, these are different algorithms. You can emulate saying Mac LCD on Mac or Windows LCD, and you will get exactly what Chrome is doing, what your operating system is doing. So if you look at here, Mac LCD, boom, now it's thicker. And this is exactly what is in Chrome. So if you follow all these tricks, and there are many tricks such as the letter spacing. How do you do it in CSS? Do you know the trick? To respect the letter spacing? So the CSS is letter spacing, but do you know the ratio? Because if you look at here in Photoshop, I have 100. So what should I put in CSS? You divide it by 1,000, and you put EM. That's the ratio. So 0.1 in CSS. So you get exactly the same feeling, the same visual design in Photoshop and in your web page, which was just impossible 2 years ago. Okay? So thanks to these new technologies, you got something that is web safe, and it's fantastic. Also, I want to share with you another trick. So let's say that I'm working on this web page, and I want to share it with an artistic director or a customer to get some feedback, some comments. How do you work today? How do you do? You send emails most of the time? A JPEG, you send an email, then you receive the comments or a website. Okay, so let me show you how I work. What I do is that I do file, save as. I don't export a JPEG, okay? I just use the PSD file. I open my local Creative Cloud Files folder. I will create a new folder, I call it FITC. And I will just click Save. So what it is doing in the background is that it's uploading in the Creative Cloud my PSD file, okay? And you need to see the Creative Cloud not as a storage service, but as a collaboration service. Okay, it's not to store your files, there is no point. It's to collaborate. So if I open now my website, So creative.adobe.com. It will open my account, and I have a Files tab. So hopefully there will be a FITC tab somewhere. Here we go. PSD file. Here we go. And I can share it. Okay, so I just need to say I want to share it, make it public, and enter the email of my customer. Okay, so he will receive an email, maybe on his smartphone, his tablet, his computer. He will click on the link, and he will discover this page. He doesn't have to be a Creative Cloud member, okay? He will just discover this page. What can he do? He can see here that it's a PSD. Adobe Photoshop will automatically generate a color swatch for me. Okay, I didn't have to do anything. And he can access the layers. So it can be useful sometimes if you hesitate between two designs. You can say banner 1, banner 2, banner 3, and just playing with the layers, he can just hide and show some layers and see how the file is structured if you want to make several proposals. And then he can add a comment. Okay. So he's a customer, so he will say, great job. But, okay, he's a customer. It's always like this. There is always a but. And he's a customer, he's not a designer, so it smells bad. He will say, could you add some rounded corners? It's so cool. Okay, something like this. And doesn't make any sense, but it's always like this. You have to justify your work. And you say, okay, so I go back to Photoshop. And then now there is also this new very cool feature where you can select a rectangle shape, okay, a vector shape. And you can do several stuff, such as rounded corner, of course. But so let's put some rounded corner here and change it to pink so that it's obvious. And I need to send it back. So usually what I would do is export a JPEG, send another email, call it v2, version 2.jpg. Okay. But here, remember that I am in my Creative Cloud folder. So I will just hit save. Okay. Save. Here, it's syncing, so it's sending a new version of my PSD. So now, if I go back here, here we go, it's already updated. He received a notification, and he can write a comment. Okay, fantastic. Okay, but you were right. The first version is better. Okay, so it's classic. And then you have on your local disk version 1.psd, version 2 v3.psd, final.psd, final v2.psd, final, very final. I mean, we know the story. So what is cool now is that the Creative Cloud in this case is saving a history for me. So at any time, I can travel back in time. Okay, so I can travel back here. Okay, so this is the version I want to move back. And click on Restore, and it will download the PSD for me and put it on my hard disk. Okay? So very, very useful. And you can save as many versions as you want. Okay? It's a great way to collaborate, and we will add more and more services to collaborate. So this is how I work now, and it's super efficient. What you save in the cloud, so let's say you have 20 gigabytes of storage, okay, in the cloud. When you save a new version, it won't be added to your storage account. Okay, so if your PSD is 10 megabytes, we will only count 10 megabytes, even if you save it 100 times.
That's more the time, right?
Yeah.
300 megabytes upload can take 10 minutes.
Yeah, depends on your connection, of course. Yeah. Then once you have your design, you want to share your work. So let's say it's approved by the customer. You want to share it with the web development team. So they need to extract the images from this design, and they need also to create the CSS. So there is a very nice feature actually in Photoshop where you can select a layer, okay, and right-click and say copy the CSS. And it will analyze the content of your layer. If it's vector graphics, it can generate for you a gradient with CSS shapes. If it's text, it will take the font family, the font size, the color, everything. So I can say copy CSS. Okay, if I launch a text editor, I say copy, and you will get everything. The transformation matrix, the prefix, etc. It's very, very useful. But then, this is still a small part of the job, because what I also need to do is to extract and export each individual assets, each individual layers into PNG or JPEG files. Okay. So let's say that I want to extract this. What I was doing even 3 years ago, I would do that, and that. Okay. I'm sure you are doing exactly the same operation. But I have to do it like 50 times on this page. And if the customers, or if I have to update the design of one element, I have to export it again. So it's very, very painful. So that's why we have just introduced in Photoshop CC a new technology named Adobe Generator, and the goal is just to generate the assets for you. So to activate it, you just have to say File, Generate Image Assets. Okay, and it's launching an engine in the background, and actually it's using Node.js. And it's opening a real-time socket connection between Node.js and Photoshop. So in real time, he knows when I am manipulating some layers and some elements. So let me open the Finder here on the right. Okay, so this is my folder. And now I can just pick, let's say, this image, okay, this layer, and you just have to rename the layer, and you can add either .jpeg or .png extension. That's it. So let's put .png, and here it has created a new folder, and if I open the folder now, I see that I have my PNG file. Okay, super easy. But this is just the appetizer. Okay, this is just, let me show you what Generator can do. Now I won't select a layer, I will select a group of layers, because this is how we work. Okay, we create some vector masks, and this is how we work. So littlehero.jpg, and here it is. But remember that it's connected in real time. So if I select the geek, okay, the guy I have here, if I move it to the center, I release, look at my folder on the right, it's already in the center. If I want to add coming soon, this banner, it's a separate folder of layers. I just have to drag and drop it inside, and here we go. I have coming soon. Super efficient. But then you will tell me, yeah, it's for the web, it's not optimized. Then you can directly, inside the layer name, add the compression rate. So from 0% to 100%, like in Save for the Web panel. So if I say 10% here, it will generate a new JPEG, highly compressed. But what I really like with that is that it's saved in my PSD file. So if I open it in 4 weeks, I still have everything defined, and I can generate new assets. And if you have vector graphics, such as my Facebook icon here, okay, just using the vector tools of Illustrator, of Photoshop in this case, I can generate a PNG, but then I also want to generate a high density PNG file, 200% for Retina display. So I can say 200% FB high, it's a good, yeah, FB icon high.png. Boom. And now I have the high version and the normal resolution version. So you can control the size and the quality. Okay, very, very useful.
And SVG?
Okay. You want to play? Okay, I will show you. So there is a trick, because as I said, Adobe Generator is open source. So there is a source code on GitHub. And I checked the source code on GitHub, and I saw that there is a beta feature, which is Svg Export, that you can enable. So I can show you how. You just have to go inside your user folder, And if I open this file, generator.json, you just need to add this line of code, and it will enable Svg Export. So this is something on my blog. I will share my blog at the end. So that's very, very nice, because it means that if I create a new document like this, I will save it in the same folder. So desktop, web design demo 1, SVG test. I will take the pane, something like this. Okay, maybe add a gradient. Okay, then you activate generate image assets and you say test.svg. And SVG assets, test.svg, here we go. That's a SVG file. So yeah, very, very cool. Now if we go back to the trends, there is another one which is responsive web design. So what I like is in responsive web design is the design world. I like design, but responsive web design is a hell for designers, which is nonsense. Today, if you work in an agency, you want to produce a responsive web design, even just a prototype, you need a developer that knows all the CSS tricks, the media queries, etc., etc. And it's not normal. Because as a designer, we want to express the intent, we want to express what will be the final experience. And what I see in agencies is more something like this. I will create the desktop version. You see, I have 3 columns, and then I will give to the developer the tablet version with a smaller resolution and 2 columns. And I will deliver another JPEG, maybe, to express what I'm waiting for on mobile devices with 1 column. But then the developer, he has to make a lot of decisions that are design decisions, such as where is my breakpoint, where should I add 3 media queries? Is it enough? Maybe I need to add more. And these are decisions usually made by designers and not developers. So this is why we need a tool. And this is why we have just introduced a product that is in preview, still in preview, but you can use it today, and it's Edge Reflow. So how does it work? It's just to prototype responsive web pages, okay? But in the background, it's really using the web. What you see is already HTML and JavaScript. I mean, the tool, the application, is written with HTML and JavaScript. And you can create blocks, which are div elements, okay, at the end. So you can add some colors, or you can decide to add a background image. So if I'm looking for the bridge, here we go. Then I can center it in the background. It's a classic trick, okay, that we use. And it's already flexible. Okay, you see it's by default. That's the default behavior. You can also directly in the tool add some text. Okay, design the web. Okay, make it bigger. Okay, we'll center it and center it in its parent. Here we go. And I will try to simulate what I was showing in the previous JPEG. So just 3 blocks, and then with a smaller resolution, I want 2 columns and then 1 column. So I will just duplicate the blocks. Okay, do something quick and dirty like this. So you can import images from Photoshop. Okay, you can import SVG too. And then you will play with that to simulate the different screen resolution. So here I sim that my design breaks, so I add a media query and I will make design decisions. So I will say that this block shouldn't be 30%, but something like 40%. This one too. And then this block of information will go full screen. And also I want to change the style of my title and reduce the size. Then I can go here and continue, add another media query. And this time I will say that you take 80%, etc., etc. Okay? So you have the control. And if you go back, you have the different states. And you can also select any element and get the CSS. So it will also generate the media queries. If you want to develop with the developer, he can work with the developer. He can open your project and get the CSS code. You can also, if you want to preview it in Chrome, you say preview in Chrome and show it to your customer. Okay, it will launch a preview, and then he will be able to test, and this is HTML and JavaScript. Okay, this is not fake. This is not a JPEG. And also, as a web designer, it's a great way to learn how to use CSS. Okay. But then you will tell me, okay, Michael, you're nice, but you asked me to start inside Photoshop, and then I feel that I have to redo everything in Reflow if I want to do responsive, okay, which is not what we need and what we want. So there is something also cool that you can use. Okay, let me disable that. So remember that we have Adobe Generator to generate all the image assets, which means that Generator is also aware of the comp, okay, the layout inside Photoshop. So what you can do now is say, I want file, generate, not only the images, but also directly a project for Reflow. Okay, so it will create, hopefully, a new folder. There we go. It's generating all the image assets, and now I have a Reflow project. And if I open it in Reflow, it's asking me something very important. What is my Typekit ID? So you remember in Reflow, in Photoshop, I was working with Typekit Fonts. But now we are working on a web project. So he wants to use the fonts directly from Typekit, not on my desktop. So the Typekit ID is something that is personal, okay, that you create on typekit.com. I enter my ID, and now I say Proxima Nova in Photoshop is Proxima Nova on typekit.com. And here we go. I have my page with all the elements. This is text, okay, images. I have the structure. And now I can work on this prototype to add my media queries. But that's not all. You can do even better, because what you can do now is add multiple pages inside a Reflow project. So let's say that I have one page here, but I can also have this page. I can add links if you want to show it to a customer so that he can navigate through your screens. And there is a live connection with Photoshop. So if you want to add a page, you can just open another page in Photoshop, and Reflow will be aware of this page. So, oh, here we go. Now he sees website team.psd, so I can create a new page. Okay, so we're using Proxima Nova and Franklin. Okay. So I import my design, I have a new page, but I can continue working directly in Photoshop. I just activate this switch, Photoshop Sync. If I go back to Photoshop and work on this banner, for instance, so if I colorize it and do something bad, such as I will steal his smile, okay, something very ugly like this. I go back to Reflow. I have a warning in my asset library that says, do you want to update your design? And boom, I have the design in Reflow. So super efficient workflow to design responsive websites, okay, between Photoshop and Reflow. And now I want to talk a little bit about Illustrator, because I'm a big fan of Illustrator, and I've just published an article, so I will give you the link at the end, how you can use Illustrator just for web design, because there are a lot of benefits and advantages in my opinion. So who is using Illustrator here? Okay, for web design? No, you, okay, good. So let me open, I'm working on a crazy website. Okay, that's the one. So usually what I hear, I want to start with this, is that it's very hard to draw in Illustrator when you come from Photoshop. It looks very hard to understand how you can use the pen and the shapes. So tell me, how would you create this?
Distract, circle from a cube, from a square.
Okay, so that's one method. What you can do is draw one square, two circles. Okay, do you know this? Its name is the Shape Builder tool. Okay, so you draw some shapes. Then what you need to do first, you select your shapes. You click here, Shape Builder. You see the plus? I'm trying to show it. You see plus? Yeah. I want to keep this. I want to keep this. I press Alt. I want to remove this. Boom, I've got my shape. No, it's not that hard, you see. Or you can start from a square. And there is this new tool here. Oh, where is it? Here we go. Okay, it's easy. You see, Illustrator is easy. Just have to know the tools, but it's super easy. So this is my my web design. And so you need to be aware of something is that Illustrator actually is a pixel-perfect environment. Because usually what I hear from web designers, they tell me, yeah, but Photoshop is about pixels. So it's easy because the web is pixels. And Illustrator, it's only about the vectors, so I have a lot of issues. Yes, but when you create a new document, just select the right profile. Say that you designed for the web, and check this box. Align the new objects to the pixel grid. And then you will be in a pixel-perfect environment. And this is something you can actually simulate. So if I go here, I have my icon. You can go to View, Preview the pixels. Okay? And you can preview everything. And then you are like within Photoshop. Okay? But what is super cool in Illustrator are symbols. So you can take this and say, I want to create a symbol that I can reuse, edit. So if I display the symbols panel here, it's already a symbol. So I can drag and drop several symbols there. And then if I edit a symbol, changing one color, of course, it's an object. So everything is dispatched on my screen. Okay? So symbols are super important with Illustrator, very useful for the web. And also, who is familiar with the 9 slices scaling? You know that? You come from Flash? Yeah, okay, good. This is because he's a good guy like me, he comes from Flash. We are not ashamed, we are proud of Flash. The issue is that if I create a symbol based on this banner, and let's say that my next title is longer, it's a very long text, then I will have to resize it. And you see the deformation? It's a stretch here. This is not what I want for my banner. So I will create a symbol from this banner, but then I will check, I want to enable guides for 9 slice scaling. Okay, I will jump in, and you see the slice? That's very cool, because it means that if I resize my shape, I don't want this to move. I just want to resize this part. Okay, so let's try now. Oh, nice. No distortion. And this is something you can only do in Illustrator or Flash Pro. Okay, if you want to open Flash Pro. And I really like this feature. It's really great. And then maybe you want to export some CSS. It's also possible. You have a CSS panel in Illustrator, CSS properties. Okay, I'm looking for it here. And you can select any element, and you see it's generating a CSS. Even for gradients, images, text, shapes. So it's in the option panel. Export option, you can include or not the vendor prefixes. Okay. So what is cool is that I can also select all. And I will try to do something very tricky. I will open my page in brackets. Okay, so this is just a basic HTML structure, okay, that I want to preview in Chrome. Here we go. So there is nothing. I don't have images. I have nothing. Okay, I just declare the structure, just divs. So if I go back here, I can generate the CSS, export it in the same folder, and I will call it FITC.css. I click on Save, and I want him to generate all the images, a little bit like Adobe Generator. Okay? I click on OK, so let's see what's happening in my folder. You see all the PNGs are coming directly from Illustrator, and I should have FITC.css somewhere. Here we go. So if I import now, and I want to place it in the background because with brackets it's in real time. FITC, boom, save, tac. I have everything. Another cool feature with Illustrator is that when you want to create SVG file, now you just have to use copy-paste. You select vector graphics, you say copy, okay, you move here, paste, this is SVG. Okay, so if I go back here, it should appear now if I save. Here we go. This is SVG. And I can tell that it's SVG because it's perfect, and this one is a PNG file, and you see the compression. So a lot of advantages inside Illustrator. Also, I invite you to check the add-ons of Photoshop and Illustrator. So we encourage the ecosystem, the community, to develop plugins for web designers. I'm sure you are using Guide. No? You should look at Guide. Okay? It's great for Photoshop. You should look at also Adobe Exchange. This is the marketplace for plugins. And crazy plugins such as standin.io. Check this website. It's using Adobe Generator. What you are doing is that inside Photoshop, you are creating a mobile prototype. You are prototyping a mobile application. And as you are drawing inside Photoshop, adding some screens, adding some pop-ups, you see the result in real time on your iPhone. And I've tested it, it's fantastic. Okay. And it's based on this new Photoshop CC architecture with Node.js. Okay. So if you want to retrieve a lot of samples and read all my articles about Photoshop CC and Illustrator for web design, everything is on my blog. It's creativedroplets.com. And if you have any question, use Twitter. My nickname is mchaize. Or you can send me an email, okay? mchaize@adobe.com. And just put FITC in the subject of the email, okay? It will help me to match with your request, and I will be able to reply as soon as possible, okay? Thank you. My time is done.